So YouTube, welcome back to the Market Outlook series. So in today's video, pretty much we'll just do a market outlook, right? Pretty much just to see some of the moves that we can actually catch for the next week, right? Pretty much just prepare the charts for the next week ahead. And pretty much to start, we can actually start with EUR-USD right here. I actually have the Vantage source, and the reason why I actually pulled up the Vantage source is because we can pretty much see the yearly bullish range, right? We can clearly see that we have this yearly low that broke previous high, right? Then made this high, then we had this low, break of structure, we had this high. So we can clearly see that for about 2 decades, EUR-USD has been trading inside this yearly bullish structure right here. We have this low, and then we have this high, right? So pretty much the outlook on EUR-USD from a yearly time frame is pretty much just to see price coming down to this yearly bullish POI. We can clearly see that we had a minor structure right here break. We can clearly see the imbalances that was left here. So pretty much I'm just waiting to see EUR-USD coming down below, pretty much correcting the fair value gaps. And then I will actually recommend to look for some sort of a weekly change of character, daily change of character, pretty much just to give us a signal that, okay, now we're about to go bullish and to all the way to take the yearly previous high, right? So that's pretty much it from a yearly time frame perspective, right? We're just I'm just looking to see USD coming to this POI, and then we can actually look for long-term buys. Now, if we could drop down, for example, to the daily time frame, let me just go to the daily, and we can clearly see that, I mean, EUR-USD is been on this beautiful bearish order flow. Right here, we can clearly see that the lows are being violated, the highs are being protected. And we can clearly see the price pretty much just did this week. We had this daily POI mitigation. Actually, this was the level that I did analysis on the previous market outlooks video. We were actually looking to see some sort of a reaction at this daily POI. Pretty much was above 50%, right, of this range low and high. So pretty much price just came here, and I actually remember recommending to look for some sort of a 1 hour change of character, right? So if we drop down, for example, to 1 hour time frame, right, we can actually see that we had this nice change of character right here, because from a swing structure perspective, I'm seeing this high and this low that was responsible for putting out this new high right here into the daily POI mitigation, right? So now we actually have this solidified low that was responsible for taking out this previous solidified high. We had previously a reaction at this decisional demand zone right here. We saw price actually giving a nice reaction, failed to put a high, so this is what we consider a high reluctancy. So this low failed to do its job, which was to take out the previous high, continue the bullish run. So we had price actually liquidating the previous low, pretty much all the way to taking out this low right here. We had the body closure, which is what I actually like when it comes to break of structure. I usually don't trust weak breaks. I think that body breaks are much more reliable. So we had a break of structure right here with body closure. Now, what I'm looking for actually is to see pretty much price coming to this POI. And the reason for that is if I pull up the fib, right, from this low all the way to this high right here, right, we can clearly see that this POI right here, I mean, it just matches perfectly with the 50% fib level, right, which is a premium zone, right, that I'm looking to for long-term sales. So what I'll be looking for is pretty much to see price actually coming all the way up here, so then we can have that bearish continuation to the downside all the way to our yearly demand, our yearly bullish POI, right? So right now we had daily POI mitigation. We just had our 1 hour, 2 hour change of character. So confirmed, we have the first sign of bearish intention for continuation to the downside. Now we're actually waiting to see pretty much price coming toward this POI. And if price actually gets to this POI, I think I'll be able to drop down to 15-minute to look for 15-minute change of character, and then I can sell all the way to take out the daily previous low and to target that yearly bullish demand zone, right? So that's it for EUR-USD. Let's move to another pair. Now, Aussie dollar, if you start, for example, if you look at Aussie dollar from the monthly time frame, right, we can actually see that Aussie dollar has been, heavily bearish. We can clearly see that we had this structure low, we had this structure high, then we had a break of structure right here, so we had this low. Now, what happened is the price then did a nice mitigation, right, all the way to the extreme right here. So this low failed to take out the high. So that means that this low is weak. We're actually waiting to see the continuation to the downside, taking out this weekly previous low, right? So if we drop down, for example, to the weekly time frame, right, we can clearly see that we have this bearish structure right here on Aussie dollar. Super clean. We had the break of structure here, mitigation, a break. We had another mitigation, then a second break. Now, what I was looking for is to see pretty much Aussie dollar coming all the way up here to this zone. And the reason for this is because if we drop down to daily, we can actually see this very clean, less up candle before this strong move. We can clearly see the momentum that came in this second, on this bearish candle right here. We can clearly see the fair value gap that is presented here, right? But I'm not sure if price will actually do a strong pullback all the way up. There is a possibility that it can do. But as of now, I'm seeing that Aussie dollar is just heavily bearish, right? If we drop down, for example, to 4-hour time frame, we can actually see something that happened during this week, is that we had this buildup of liquidity right here, pretty much some sort of equal highs. Price actually swept liquidity, right? All this liquidity that was here swept. We had price actually failing to close above that level. Then it dropped, right? If I drop down, for example, to 2-hour time frame, we had the break of structure right here. We had a mitigation, right? So this actually was the failed structure. Price actually failing to put a high. So pretty much just respected this previous high. And then we had a break. Now, if I pull up the fib again from this low, for example, all the way to this high, right here, we can clearly see that this POI is above 50% of premium level, right? So this is just a clean, beautiful zone to look for long-term sales. There is a possibility also that price can use this as inducement, right? This previous structure high as inducement for price to come aggressively to this POI, and then we see a drop to the downside. Also, if you look at the confluences for clean OB, we can clearly see that we had a huge momentum that was responsible for taking out this previous low. We had fair value gap left and a clean OB to trade from. So those are the three conferences that I always talk about. So we can clearly see that all those conferences are presented. So I'm actually looking to see if price actually will come down to this POI, and then I can scale down to my lower time frames, such as 3 minutes, look for my confirmation, and then we continue the sales to the downside, right? So pretty much when we look at the structure right now from my year, from the monthly, all the way to weekly, daily, hourly time frame, we can clearly see that on Aussie dollar, everything is bearish, right? So there is no reason to look for buys, right? Long-term is sells, right? So that's it for Aussie dollar. We can move to another pair. GU, right? So GU, we can start from the daily time frame, right? And we can start from the monthly time frame just to do a quick analysis on it. We can see something interesting on GU is that GU just took out this previous week, this previous monthly low right here, and actually grabbed this. It just grabbed this this low right here. This actually was the response to that news of the tax cuts. So pretty much it just created this huge drop on the pound dollar. So we can clearly see that from a monthly time frame, GU has been heavily bearish. We had this break of structure right here. We had price coming all the way up here, right, to do a mitigation, right? So pretty much price just respected this low failed to do its job, which was to take out the high. So it was weak. We saw price liquidated. Now, if we drop down to the weekly time frame, right, we can clearly see that GU is just been heavily bearish. Let me just scale down to daily time frame. So we can clearly see that the daily also is heavily bearish, right? Following that bearish order flow, still intact. Price just came to this bullish POI right here, responsible for taking out this previous low. Now we actually seeing a reaction. Pretty much price respected the order block, and now we actually expecting to see GU taking out this previous daily low, right? Now we had a daily POI mitigation. We can drop down, for example, to the 2-hour time frame. for the change of character. So we can clearly see that we had a nice change of character right here. We had pretty much price creating this high and this low that gave this previous high right here. Then we had this strong drop to the downside. We had a successful retrace right here, pretty much price coming around 50% of this range high and low, right, which is a great zone of mitigation. So we had price actually given a second break of structure right here. Then we had a mitigation at this 50% of this fair value gap right here. We can clearly see that from this high right here to this low, right? We can clearly see the fair value gap. Price came to the 50% because we actually had a buy to sell wicks on the lower time frame. I think if I drop down to 1 hour, we're able to see that, yes, absolutely. We can clearly see this buy to sell wicks. Pretty much this is just it's just a hidden order block, decisional order block on the lower time frame. We can clearly see that when price actually was to take out this previous low, it didn't close below, right? So that means that there was the last buy before the sell that finally closed, violated this previous low with a border closure. Price came back to it and then dropped, taking out the previous hourly low. So there is a possibility that we can see price actually coming down, coming up to correct the inefficiency, react to this bullish POI sitting above right here, and then we see a continuation to the downside, right? So that's it for GU. Let's move to another pair, New Zealand dollar, right? Now, New Zealand dollar, we can start from the monthly time frame, right? Pretty much that's how I like to do my, usually my high time frame, multiple time frame analysis. We can clearly see that if we look from the monthly time frame, we can clearly see the New Zealand dollar is bullish, right? We can clearly see that we had this push to the upside from a swing structure perspective, right? We had the structure low, we had the structure high. Then price actually took out, you guys can clearly see that this structure low was used as inducement, right? Because they knew that there are people that had the limit order, this order block. So everybody got taken out right there. They used this structure, previous structure low as inducement, right? So we can clearly see that this box right here is what we call institutional candle. So institutions sold to take out the previous low, then they had to buy immediately because institutions don't use stop losses when they sell, which means the manipulation, right? They need to come down to close this sell position right here that was previously in drawdown. So we can clearly see the price is, I mean, if I just, let me remove the brush tool, we can clearly see we have this down candle before the up move that had this huge momentum left imbalances. So we're actually seeing New Zealand dollar doing an RTO, which is a return to order block, right? To this order block that was responsible for taking out this previous structure high. So then we actually see, we're actually more likely to see that continuation to the upside, pretty much taking out these previous highs right here. We can clearly see that there is a ton of liquidity sitting above right here, equal highs, right? Now, if we drop down, for example, to the daily time frame, right? We just reset the chart, okay? So we can clearly see the daily has, I mean, it's been heavily bullish, right? Recently, this week, we had price actually come into this this POI right here. I think we can clearly see on the 4-hour time frame, yes. We can clearly see that we had this solidified high that made this low, so price came all the way up here, right? So we had this daily POI mitigation. So soon price got there, we actually had a 1-hour change of character right here, even a 4-hour. I mean, if you look at the 4-hour, we just had a nice 4-hour change of character right here. We had this high, low, the price then made the new high, and then strong push to the downside. Now, as an extreme order block, we have this bullish candle, right? I mean, this bullish candle right here before this huge drop. We can clearly see this huge momentum in this candle. So there is a possibility that price can get there, right? Now, price actually, if we go down to 1-hour time frame, we can actually see that price actually reacted to this buy to sell wicks right here, this mitigation, and then a continuation to the downside. So pretty much I'm just seeing, I'm still hopeful to see price coming towards this POI right here, which is around 50% from this range high to this range low. There is a possibility the price can use this as liquidity, right? See a sweep all the way here, all the way up here, and then, right, we see that continuation to the downside right there, all the way to our monthly bullish POI, right? So that's it for New Zealand dollar. Simple process, right? 4-hour daily POI mitigation, 4-hour change of character, right? Now we can pull up the fib, right, from this low all the way to this high. We can clearly see that the POI matches perfectly with the 50% of the fib level, which is a great premium level zone for long-term sales, right? So that's it for New Zealand dollar. Let's move to another pair. We have USD-CAD. Now, USD-CAD is quite interesting because if you look at the monthly time frame, there is something very interesting that I just recently saw, is that we had this high, right? Then we had this low, price made this high. What happened is that this, then we had the pullback, pretty much price respecting the order block right here. Then we had this push to the upside. What happened is that price actually failed to take out the previous high. So this is what we call high reluctancy. So what happens? What happens? What is the job? What was the job of this low? The job of this low was to pretty much print a new high to give a continuation to this bullish run. What happened is that this low failed to put a new high, so it failed to this job. What happened? Price actually liquidated that low. It became weak. So we can clearly see now something that interesting is that we actually see USD CAD coming towards this supply zone right here. So pretty much if we drop down, for example, the weekly time frame, we can actually see that price was just had this nice bullish structure all the way to this supply zone right here. And we can clearly see that now price is currently reacting at the 50% of the fair value gap right here, right? We can clearly see that if you use the fair value gap right here, we can clearly see the price just came perfectly to the 50%. So there is a possibility that price can just drop from this fair value gap mitigation, or it can just come a little bit inside the POI right here, and then we see that push to the downside, right? Because we can clearly see that we still have huge imbalances left with this strong push to the upside right here. So if we drop down to the daily time frame, that's what we can clearly see. Actually, during the week, I dropped down to 4-hour time frame, and I saw this nice change of character right here, right? And we can clearly see that we had this pretty much this low, price made this high, then respected the low. Then we had price pretty much, actually it took out the previous high, but then it violated this low right here. Now we actually seeing price respecting the POI right there. And probably there is a possibility that we can see price taking out the previous low, right? But this actually is just a change of character. As I said, as I always say, right? Change of character is never a confirmation of trend shift, right? It's just the first sign of reversal. It's just pretty much price just given that sign that, okay, there is a possibility that we will actually transition from bullish to bearish, right? So we need that second break of structure, pretty much just to give us a confirmation that price really is dropping to correct this bullish inefficiency sitting below, right? So another thing that is more likely to happen, because we have actually relative equal highs, is to see price actually coming, grab that liquidity, mitigate this monthly demand zone, and then we see a continuation to the downside. So if we can clearly see that from a higher time frame perspective, right now, especially from the daily, USD-CAD is bullish, right? Now let's move to another pair. Now with USD-JPY, is a pair that I used to trade this pair. I mean, it used to have a beautiful price action, but you know, with the weakness on the JPY, actually price just started to push to the upside aggressively. And if you look at the weekly, we actually see that the structure is bullish. Even from the daily, we can clearly see the POIs. I mean, the down candle before the up move right here. We have the decision, we have the extreme sitting right here. Now, what happened is that if you look at we have huge imbalances sitting below. So this is just another confluence as why we need to see price actually coming down below. So then we can probably see a continuation to the upside. Now, if we come down to 4-hour time frame, we can clearly see something interesting that happened right here. And we can clearly see that we had these relatively equal highs right here. Pretty much this was just a liquidity build up. We saw price actually taking out all that liquidity right there. So all the break and retest guys, unfortunately, right? They got swept with this strong push to the downside right here. So we can clearly see that we have this what we call strong high, right? Because this high was responsible for taking out the previous high and then grab the previous low. And we had this strong break of structure, body closure. And now we're actually seeing a return to order block, RTO, right? Now we have this refined POI. This actually is a 1 hour POI. If we actually get close to it, let me just zoom in. We can clearly see that we have this little up candle before this strong push to the downside. We can clearly see that the momentum actually kicked at this particular moment right here. Now, for people who don't have time to be on the chart, especially to take advantage of lower time frame confirmations, this is a nice opportunity to look for sales, right? We actually have that POI. You can use about 40 pips stop loss just to cover the high. And I mean, your target should be probably should definitely be this. I mean, a realistic target, it would be this 4 hour low, right? For about 13 risk to 1 to 13 risk to reward ratio, which is incredible. But if you look at the higher time frame, like especially from the weekly outlook, right, we can clearly see that this could have been your target for about 20 or. So this is just a nice setup for people who don't have time. But as a means of refinement, I mean, for just to increase your strike rate, I would actually recommend to just be a little bit more patient, wait for clean 15-minute change of character, and then you can take the sell, right? Just to increase the strike rate, I mean, even you'll be able to increase your risk to reward ratio as well. So this is just a nice confirmation right here. I mean, we just had this huge push to the downside. We can clearly see that the momentum actually is in our favor for sales. We can clearly see that from this high to this low, it just took about 4, 5 to 6 candles all the way down here. And look at all these candles all the way up. So we can clearly see that the bearish momentum is in our favor for sales, right? Because we can clearly see this slow move all the way up here, right? So we can clearly see that the sales now, I mean, this sellers have control over the markets right now, right? So that's it for you, Jay, guys. So let's move to another pair. GJ. Now, GJ actually was quite interesting, right? Because the reason for that is on the previous outlook, I was actually looking to see GJ come into this demand zone right here that was responsible for taking out this previous high, right? So because we actually were seeing this bullish run right here, right? So what happened is that price actually just violated that, I mean, pretty much just violated that POI. We actually had this previous relative equal lows, price just swept right here. We can clearly see that everybody that had orders right there, they got swept. So what happened is that, okay, the order block was violated. So we can drop down to the daily time frame, right? So on the daily time frame, something interesting happened, right? We saw that price actually had grabbed this previous relative equal highs, right? We saw this push to the upside and then a strong drop to the downside, right? With huge momentum right here. Then we saw price actually come into this daily sell POI that was responsible for grabbing this liquidity. And now we're actually seeing the push to the downside. Now, at daily POI mitigation, I usually recommend to wait for 1 hour, 2 hour change of character, right? So if you drop down to 2 hour, for example, 2 hour time frame, we can actually see that we had that, right? We had this previous high, then we had a previous low, then we had this high right here, right? Then we had this strong push to the downside right here. We can clearly see that price actually did a perfect mitigation right here. We can clearly see that bullish candle, right? We had a mitigation right here, and this was above 50% of the premium level. So that was a perfect zone for sales, right? Then we had the second break of structure. Price actually came. If we drop down, for example, to 1 hour, we will be able to see this sell to buy wicks. I mean, this buy to sell wicks right here. Price actually did a mitigation there and then just broke structure. We had a body closure. Now, my outlook on GJ pretty much is to see price actually coming down to this POI right here. We can clearly see the huge momentum imbalances left right there. So I'm still waiting to see some sort of correction of the inefficiency, reaction to this POI, and then we can see the sell continuations to the downside, right? So that's pretty much the outlook for GJ, right? So let's move to another pair, which is gold, right? Now, gold also is just doing, I mean, a great job for price action wise. I mean, if I drop down, for example, to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that price just came at this bullish POI, right? That was responsible, pretty much engineered this move that went on to take that monthly previous high. So now price just came at this POI. We can clearly see this huge buildup of liquidity right here. Pretty much this, all these equal lows. We saw price now taking that liquidity, and now it's engineered that move to the upside, right? So we can clearly see that we have a weekly POI. So at weekly POI mitigation, we want to see some sort of a 4-hour or daily change of character to the upside, pretty much just to give us that signal that, okay, price now is just about to have a continuation to the upside, right? So if we drop down to the daily time frame, we can actually see this beautiful change of character right here, right? We had this solidified low, high, and then a low, then price had this huge push to the upside, right? So we can clearly see that pretty much we're just waiting to see price actually coming all the way down here and a continuation to the upside. We had this reaction at this previous supply zone right here. So if we drop down, for example, to 4-hour, right, we can actually see the refined POIs right here. We have these black candles. There's a possibility the price might not get all the way down here, may react here. But when it comes to these daily POI mitigations, I would actually recommend wait for some sort of 1-hour change of character, right, to the upside. So for further continuations to the upside, right? Now, as a main, for this actually can take, I mean, days, even weeks for price to come to this POI. But if we go down, for example, let's just mark this, pretty much what happened right here on gold, pretty much just had this supply reaction right here. If we drop down, for example, to 1 hour, we can clearly see that we had a nice, beautiful break of structure right here. And what you can see is that we had this high, solidified low, then price made this new high. Then it had a nice pullback. Then we had a failure of price pretty much putting a high. So this is a high reluctancy. And then price actually just took out that low. We see this huge momentum right here to the downside, right? And now we can clearly see that we have a nice POI right here. I think we can drop down to 30 minutes to see it. Yes, we have that last up candle before down move. We can clearly see that this week right here is higher than the previous candles, right? We can see that this week is higher than the previous candles high. Pretty much this means that this is a liquidity week, right? Just swept and then pushed to the downside. So there is a possibility that we can clearly see some price actually coming up using this previous high as inducement for price to come up, and then we see a drop to the downside, right? All the way to our daily POI, and then we have that monthly continuation to the upside. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much it for gold, right? On a 30-minute, we have a nice intraday setup right here, all the way down to our daily POI. So let's go to US30, right? Now, the stock market actually has been crashing lately, right? I mean, we just saw this huge drop on the US30. But if you have a great understanding of market structure, right? This is one of the reasons why I actually made that video, market structure. I actually pop up a link right here so you guys can watch. I was actually breaking, pretty much I just gave this example of, I mean, pretty much I just talked about the importance of being able to understand market structure, right? Because for people that are holding, for example, positions in the US30, I mean, long-term, or let's say people that have stocks, they think that, oh, everything is going to tank forever. But if you have an understanding of market structure, you see that we have this high, this low, and then we had this push to the upside, pretty much that took this previous high. And we have this last down candle before the up move right here. So pretty much we can clearly see the price is just doing this mitigation. There is a possibility the price can react here and continue to the upside. So there is no reason to panic for the stock market crash. Eventually everything will get better and we will see a push to the upside on US30, right? Now, we can clearly see that we had this monthly POI mitigation. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, maybe, yes, we can clearly see the price actually came to these down candles right here. Let's go down to the daily time frame. We can actually see something interesting is that we had a nice daily change of character inside our monthly POI. And maybe on the 4 hour it's much cleaner, right? Okay, perfect, right? We can clearly see that we had this solidified low, solidified high, and then price made this low, and then we had this strong push to the upside right here. So this is what we call change of character, right? And change of character is never a confirmation of trend reversal. It's just the first sign. For example, in this particular case, it's just the first sign of bullish intention, right? Of pretty much we're more likely to see price actually continue to the upside. So right now, we're actually seeing price doing this 4-hour POI mitigation. I will still wait for price to come down below, and I will actually recommend to wait for a clean 15-minute change of character, and then you can drop down to 1 minute and, you know, just to increase your strike rate, right? Bring the odds more in your favor that, okay, price is just going to push to the upside, right? So we had this was just the first sign. It was a nice confirmation, right? I mean, from a high time frame perspective, this was a nice confirmation, right? Nice 4-hour change of character. So I recommend a 15-minute change of character, and then we can look for buys on the lower time frames, right? So that's it for US30. Let's move to the last pair, and it's Ethereum, right? Crypto. Now, Ethereum, we can actually start from the monthly time frame, and my outlook on Ethereum, pretty much I'm just trying to see if Ethereum will get to about $500, right? We can clearly see that, I mean, we had this last down candle before the strong up move, right? That went on to take the previous high and gave all this, this previous all-time high right here, right? So we have this monthly all-time high. I'm still waiting to see these inefficient fair value gap corrections right here, right? Pretty much price just dropping all the way down to this POI, and then we can see a push to the upside. So around 50, I'm around $500. That's what I'm looking for on Ethereum, right? Now, if I drop down to the weekly time frame, right, we can see something interesting right here is that we had this break of structure right here. We had this, for example, let me just go to daily. I think it's better on the daily. Yes, we can clearly see that we had this low, then price made this high, then it made this low. So then we had this strong push to the upside, pretty much this mitigation at the extreme POIs. We had a nice change of character on the daily time frame. We had a mitigation around the 50%, above 50% of the range high and low. Then we had a second break of structure. So pretty much this was just a beautiful 2 breaks of structures confirmation, right? That bearish order flow transition confirmed, right? Inside this weekly range high and low, right? So now what we can see is that, I mean, for a couple of weeks, Ethereum has been on this range right here. So what this range is telling us is that there is some sort of equilibrium between the buy orders and the sell orders. So most likely we will be able to see a breakout. And the breakout that I'm expecting to see pretty much is to the upside, to this POI right here. We can clearly see that we have confluences, right? For that make this OB very valid. Number one is that we have we have huge momentum on the break. We have imbalances, and we have a clean OB to trade from. So pretty much that's it that I'm looking for on Ethereum, is to see price pretty much come into this POI, and then we have a continuation to take out this week low, right? All the way down to our monthly bullish POI, and then we can see a continuation to the upside. So soon, if price actually gets to $500 on Ethereum, this monthly POI, I'll actually be waiting for a clean daily change of character, and then we can see if price will actually push to the upside from there, right? So that's it for the outlook, guys. So pretty much, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and also make sure you actually join my free Telegram channel, right? We can clearly see right here, pretty much this is where I share my outlooks every single day to the members, right? Sometimes I also give updates on the moves during the week, right? So feel free to join my free Telegram group, and I see you guys in the next time.